What's going on? Welcome to Dead by Daylight Reviews. As they say, better late than never. Yeah. I got caught up and wasn't paying attention. But I mean, I made strawberry cheesecake and had fun, so if that's a consolation. Either way, um, Absolute Zero chapter, character sketches. I don't know why you didn't put this with your actual chapter as opposed to making it separate, but cool. Nude Caramina paste. Okay, hang on. If this ain't too bad, I'll unblock the screen, but hang on. Okay, we're good. It's not safe for work doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna be like super terrible. So here you go. It's a portrait of her drawing herself. When the survivor completes the repel action, they suffer from the exposed status effect for 4 seconds. That is, it's kind of a wise situation. Because, I mean, the repel action from the crows and all of that, it doesn't slow you down. It doesn't really do much to you except for highlight you. So if you know the killer's nearby, I mean, you're obviously not gonna, oof, and pull that off you. So, I mean, you're kind of nerfing the killer by doing that. I mean, if the survivor just doesn't care and repels the crows in front of you while you're pressuring them or chasing them, I mean, they're gonna kind of get bonked anyway. But as the killer, instead of using your power to get the crows on them and then damage them and, keep that pressure on, you would have to literally give them space for them to repair the crows or repel the crows. Then you would have to get a hit on them within the 4 seconds after they repel the crows. Me personally, I just lock or hop and go on with my business because it's a lot faster than repelling the crows. But I mean, sometimes you're being chased and whatnot. But I mean, most people that repel the crows when they're away from the killer itself, or they'll drop a pallet and then repel the crows. So 4 seconds is not enough time to get that down after the crows are repelled. And keep in mind that once this add-on's been called out, it's effectively useless. So anybody that repels crows once, or if it's a SWF, then it's gone, as soon as the first person gets hit with it. But the first time somebody repels crows and ends up getting, that exposed status effect, because keep in mind, most artists don't just use crows to people that are in front of them. They hit generators with crows and things like that to try and force survivors off of them. So the moment you hit a survivor across the map, they get rid of that repel effect and they see that they're exposed afterwards. They know, and the jig is up. So what you would be looking for is the exposed status effect being present there to scare them from immediately, pulling things off if you're possibly in the vicinity. But what you would like is for the crows to be harder to take off of them than the actual exposed status effect that comes from it. So the longer they have crows on them, the longer you can see them. Now, an add-on that would be worthwhile, if it doesn't already exist, is lockers no longer get rid of crows, so they have to pull the crows off of them manually. And if a survivor gets into a locker with crows on them, give them like the killer instinct effect or something like that while they're in a locker. So it combos with barbecue and chili and things like that to create like this sort of unique build that you can use to counteract survivors. But here's an April Fool's Day submission and all of that. I was staring at the title for a solid 20 seconds thinking this is either C3 or someone's about to get banned. That's funny. And then here's a picture of the actual artist herself. From toes, which are crow-like, to the shit that wraps around her and the tar coming out of her wounds and all of that. Skirt, her hands that are made out of tar, her little feathered, I guess you'd call it, what is this? This would be like, it's not a necklace, but it's something that goes over the shoulders. Yeah, it's kind of a long neck. It could be an illusion, but looks longer. And then the face of sadness, despair. She's one step from being dead inside. At least from that picture, that's what it looks like. And that's that. Perk ideas. Hopefully we'll at least find one good perk idea out of this lot. But let's see. Oh, there's only two. Well, so thoughts on this idea for anti-camp perk for survivors? You mean like Decisive Strike? With a similar idea to kinship and using the hunting emblem as guidelines, as well as an anti-tunnel perk available for killers that gives killers an incentive to spread the love. What the fuck are you talking about? That boo doop sound you're gonna be hearing a lot because I need to charge my VR headset and all of that. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the cord or the headset. It keeps trying to access the files on the VR, which I denied, and then it goes back to normal. And then accesses the files, and it goes back to normal. It's weird. Facing danger. While you're on the hook, facing danger activates if the killer is within 16 meters of your hook while not being in a chase. Your time on the hook timer regresses 50% slower and 75% slower if within 8-meter radius. See, that's not good because one, a chase only comes into effect when the killer sees and is in pursuit of somebody. So as long as that person doesn't let the killer get line of sight on them, they could perpetually slow your hook timer for damn near ever. Not to mention this being stacked with kinship and all of that would make it literally last longer than if the person was on the ground bleeding out, which is 4 minutes. 50% slower would add, what, an extra minute? So you would be at a 3-minute hook timer, 75%, even more so. You're coming up on the bleed out timer. So at that point, if a killer wanted to sufficiently tunnel you out, they would just slug you because they see that you have this perk. So they would literally hook you, let your friend take you off the hook, and then immediately come back and slap you down again. That's not, I mean, it's an anti-camp perk, but you're not getting rid of the anti-tunneling part of that. 16 meters of the hook is kind of insane, because, I mean, the tear radius goes 32 meters, so half of that being 16 meters is way too far for you to have a 50% slower regression rate. 16 meters, by the way, is 3 point whatever seconds the killer is away from you. That's enough time for you to take somebody off the hook and somebody to take a body block or something like that, and both of you to go away easily, or to escape if you're skilled enough easily. One, you shouldn't be going for immediate unhooks, and you shouldn't be trading or farming, and you shouldn't be trying to unhook your particular teammate when the killer is nearby. Again, camping is completely fine. That's what the game devs want you to do. if you looked at any of their podcasts or listened to any of their announcements and all of that on how they like you to play the game. Camping is completely fine. It's perfect. That's how the game's meant to be played. The killer's supposed to hook you, and he's supposed to camp out around the area, preventing other survivors from rescuing you, while also pressuring the other gens and all that, depending on what kind of killer you're using. There's different playstyles. Base camping is what's against the terms of service and needs to be addressed. So if the killer is, within a couple of meters of you on the hook, that makes more sense for the hook timer being slowed significantly more. Because it's literally standing on top of your box and all of that. They're face camping, which is against terms of service. I can understand that, but that problem can be alleviated with basic code saying that if a killer is literally standing on top of a survivor's hitbox while on hook for 20 or 30 seconds or more, then treat it like AFK birds, Once they've been there for a long ass time, something happens and trigger an effect. Or, you could automatically just restore that person's hook, Which would make more sense, actually, if somebody's being face camped. Just design a perk that makes it to where if the killer is on top of their, a survivor's hitbox or within like a meter or two of a survivor that's on a hook, that survivor instead gains hook progress instead of loses it. So that survivor could literally hang there all day at full hook status and all of that, as long as the killers stay in there face camping them. And then make it to where, when that survivor gets saved, if they ever get saved, I mean, the killer could be adamant, but I mean, the killer ain't gonna stay once they see that this survivor is not regressing. But once that survivor gets saved, you can have an additional effect that protects that survivor from going down for a little bit as well. So, I mean, there's ways to get away from face campers. The obvious solution, just make it where the hook timer instead of regresses, progresses, regresses. Killer would feel real dumb if he's trying to face camp you and your hooks are, coming back. After standing there for 20 seconds or something that verifies that they're face camping. Hook timer goes up. They go from second hook down to first hook down to no hooks, and then they're just sitting there like, what? And you can make it scaling too. Instead of scaling with seconds, make it scale with abilities. 10 seconds of face camping, you get a health state back. 15 seconds, you get a health state and an endurance effect that lasts for, I don't know, let's say 10 seconds. 20 seconds, you get your hook state back. 30 seconds, you get all hook states back. And then if it gets up to a minute, killer gets knocked back, stunned, and the survivor gets the option to jump off the hook on their own. So there's like a stunning attack. It forces the survivor off the hook, and then it makes a blasting effect that knocks the killer back and stuns them for like 5 seconds. And they also get the full heal, the endurance effect. You can even add in effects that include speed and things like that. I would leave it at 5, scaling things. I wouldn't go over 5. Make it like Devourer of Hope, where you get tokens for being face camp. I mean, killers are still going to, you can keep in mind, they're still going to face camp you. That's just going to be what it is, but they're going to have to leave, giving you chance to get unhooked and then go back. And then leave and then go back. Now, to make this unexploitable, you make it to where every 5 seconds, the killer or the range that the killer can stay, near you has to be increased. So let's say it ends up being, 2 meters starting. After 5 seconds, it expands to like 3 meters. 10 seconds, 5 meters. 20 seconds, 7 meters. 30 seconds, 10 meters. 60 seconds, then you can get, a decent amount of time to where, the killer gets knocked back and then gets stunned and all of that. And the effect remain, goes. This is accumulative. This is over the course of the game. So the killer cannot just reset by walking away from you and walking back and trying to reset the timer that way either. As long as they are near you, that timer keeps ticking up. So it can't be exploited. Now, the killer can be near you as long as he hasn't been face camping you directly for a long amount of time. So if the killer never gets near you to face camp you and he just regularly camps you, it's fair game. But as long as he doesn't, touch your hitbox and stand in front of you where the other survivors cannot grab you, it's fair game. Absolutely, positively fair game. As long as he ain't preventing survivors from making that grab action, it's all good in the hood. So those that want to camp and all of that can still camp, but you're not breaking the terms of service by face camping. A scalable perk like that would be amazing. Now, on the opposite side of that, survivors will need to be punished for their transgressions and things like that. So, staying near a stunned killer, staying near and body blocking a killer that's carrying a survivor, things like that, the killer should get, or teabagging at the exit gates, or actually just staying within the boundaries of the exit gates and not leaving, should come with, a penalty as well. So, I mean, you get your face camping taken care of, which is a primary problem for a survivor. But staying in the exit gates is a problem that survivors do the killers instead of just ending the game. They wait in the exit gates. So, one, that'll force survivors to come out of the exit gates, which gives the killer at least a chance to probably get another down if they're healing, outside of the exit gates. And the longer survivors stay in exit gates, the more that time scales up. And you can have effects that, increase the killer's power. And then towards the end, if they've been standing there for way too long, acts like Blood Warden and can just completely seal off a particular exit, which will force them to go to another exit. So, it has to go both ways. No more face camping from killers, and forget all the other extra stuff I said about body blocking and all of that. That is fair game as well. I'm going to focus on the main issue here. So, survivors no longer get face camp, and killers no longer get stalled out of the end of a game while survivors are sitting there healing at the exit gate and teabagging and waiting on the killer to come over so they can be slapped out and get their little victory pumps. Like, you either stay in the law or in the actual map and do that shit and make it a little bit more dangerous for you, or you leave, or you get penalized for it. That takes care of the two main issues that pisses off survivors and killers. There are other things, but I mean, most of them are fair game. Survivors do have to have a skill set to pull some of the stuff off that they do, as well as killer. Camping and body blocking's par for the course. It's one of the only ways you can do to stall a killer or a survivor that you want out. But the main issues, survivors teabagging and shaking their ass and all that at the exit gate, and killers face camping, need to be dealt with, and that's the easiest way to do it. Generally, I would think of a roundabout approach to incorporate an entire system and all of that, but I mean, if it's gonna happen and it's been happening for years, just make it a perk. This way it's toggleable. If a killer just can't stand having people sit at the exit gates, make it toggleable. Or if a survivor can't stand getting face camped because it's happened too much, make it a toggleable option to where they can get, something back for it. Because the thing that sucks about face camping, even if your buddies save you and you escape, you're still not going to rank up. If anything, you might D-rank if you're at a higher level, because, I mean, you were the first guy, you got downed, you got face camped, because you ran the killer for, I don't know, 30 seconds and you played a good game. The killer's mad, he face camps you. At the end of the day, the killer's gonna D-rank and you're gonna D-rank for playing the game well. You know what I'm saying? But these are easy perks. And don't ask me the perk set for the killer and the X gate and all of that. I came up with the survivor perk off the top of my head. Spitballing. I've never thought about this in the past. This is just something that popped into my mind and I spoke my mind. And tried to put everything down, as it came into my mind. Anyway, that would be the easy way to get rid of face camping. Regular camping, no. Bad idea for regular camping. Some killers benefit from camping builds and tunneling builds. It just is what it is. So, no on the first perk. Equally obsessed. When a survivor is hooked, you receive Hunter's Instinct of the Obsession for 4 seconds. I'm assuming that's Killer Instinct, is what you're talking about. And that don't make any fucking sense. When a survivor is hooked, you know where the obsession is. Why? Why just the obsession for 4 seconds when you can use the Scourge hook perk that literally lights up every survivor when they get unhooked? Or barbecue and chili that does distance. Or Discord or any of the other aura reading perks and all of that. Each time you hook the obsession, you gain a token, and the obsession changes to the survivor with the least amount of hooks. So now you're just downscaling yourself. I understand that you hate camping, but it's part of the game, and you need to understand and accept that as part of the game. I hate the fuck out of the Rocket League community and all of that, but I've accepted that this is the community, and if I want to play the game, they're the dumbasses that I have to go up against and play with. I've accepted that part. I just don't fucking like it. But that's fine as long as you accept it. You don't have to like it. This is going to cause the killer to lose the match, is what this obsession perk does. In order to get any kind of power from it, you would have to use this with Rancor. And then, in order to cover that, you only get a 1% haste bonus per hook. I see you're trying to make a perk to keep killers from camping and all of that, but you have to keep in mind that that's not the way to do it. You have to find a survivor, down that survivor, and then hook that survivor. Go to another survivor, try and down that survivor, try and hook that survivor. Go to another survivor, down that survivor, try to, hook that survivor. Go to another one. By that time, you're spreading out your hooks so far that even if you did it flawlessly, you're going to end up with one gen left and everybody on their last dying hook. And that's if you do it flawlessly, because you're spreading out the hook love. That's not how you play Dead by Daylight. You obviously don't have a lot. How many posts do you have? Yeah, 84. You obviously don't have a lot of hours in Dead by Daylight, or you wouldn't even fathom coming up with a perk like this. The only thing that this does is it provides a passive amount of haste and makes it to where your obsession becomes the one with the least amount of hooks, so you can run Rancor and get and save essentially one person. But at that case, you would run like yeah, save the best for last. You would run save the best for last or fire up or something like that. Instead, because your obsession, if you run into them, you want to get bonus off that obsession. You don't just want to find them, say, hey, there's the obsession, and then say, well, I can't chase them. because I don't want to lose any tokens or any speed. So you would run save the best for last, chase them and all of that to get your token and all that, break chase, and then go off into another area to get that bonus of speed. So the majority of your perks would be based off of speed, and then of course your last perk would be NOAD to try and get those quick downs, and then you would Rancor to down the survivor that you never hooked throughout the game. So good luck, because you're gonna have to play a fairly speedy and easy to use killer that benefits from all of that, and you're gonna have to play a very flawless game every time. So if you want to challenge yourself and make a try hard build, I guess use this, but there's way better builds and better perks. So I would have to say no to both of those. Besides the Rancor setups, you're giving way too much haste bonus per hook. But then at the second part of that, if you hook a survivor with more hook states than the obsession, lose 1 token. That don't make any sense either. So it's actually contradictory, and you have too much haste, and then you have no haste. Because each time you hook an obsession, you gain a token, and then the obsession changes to the survivor with the least amount of hooks. So not only is this perk going to be useless if you play a regular Dead by Daylight game, and if you want to use this, you're going to be running around with a chicken with your head cut off. Because you're always going to have to find the obsession, and you're going to have to hook the obsession. Then you're going to have to run and find the next obsession, and then hook that obsession. And then find the next obsession, and hook that obsession. If you want to use this perk to full value. If not, you're going to get a 1%, well, you'll probably get like 2% haste value out of this perk before you start losing tokens. Because you're going to gain a token for hooking. Well, no, because you don't gain. You only gain tokens when you hook the obsession. So you're never going to get. Actually, no. I was very wrong here. This perk is actually dog shit and useless. Hang on, let me start over. This perk is only good for, well, no, because getting the obsession's, killer instinct ain't worth it either. There's better perks. Hooking the obsession, because the obsession changes so much, you're just gonna have to keep running back and forth. Essentially, this would have the killer focus on hooking the new success or obsession to gain faster and faster speed. It would also have synergy with perks like Dying Light, Remember Me, or any perks focused on hooking buried survivors. You are quite wrong. Quite wrong indeed. Because the perks that involve hooking each unique survivor, you have to use supporting perks to either find them, or you have to be damn good at the job and predict survivors and where they're going. Generally, most people will just run a supporting perk build, but if you run this particular perk right here, you won't have the ability to run other perks that rely off on hooking, unique survivors once. Like No Way Out is going to be incredibly hard getting No Way Out the fire if you have this particular perk here. Unless you literally hook a survivor, get the killer instinct, and then completely just abandon ship and run to your next obsession. But if you're doing that, you might as well just use Devour Hope as your third perk and just drop this perk once you get your Devour of Hope up to 3 to where you get the one hit downs. So, like, this perk isn't good for what this perk does. You can either use the Killer Instinct effect to buff Devour Hope, I mean, there ain't much this, like, no, this is just an overall bad perk. There's better perks. Way, way better perks. Yeah, no. I'm gonna give it a no. That's my final verdict on that. I don't see any usability for it. 'Cause even if you're Legion and you're running just this godly just speed build, Devour Hope, again, at 2 tokens gives you a speed boost when you hook a survivor. So having that Killer Instinct effect on the accession pop up will at least give you a target to go for. But again, it's the same as just the barbecue and, well, it's a barbecue and chili effect that you're always going to get, but you should basically always get a barbecue and chili effect anyway. So it's kind of like, this perk needs to be redone. It needs to heavily be redone. It needs to be balanced, and it needs to take. I know it said it took ideas from other things, but no, you can't just take a bunch of different ideas of things and then flop them together. You can take inspiration from something, but you shouldn't take an idea from something. Use that inspiration you have. You have a basic guideline set up. Think about what you want to accomplish and then make something that has to deal with it, and then revise that about 4 or 5 times. Then look at it again and show somebody. When somebody says that it's bad, revise it 5 more times, and then maybe you'll have something that's good. Because, like, I understand the getting faster and faster speed and all of that, but hooking a survivor and then running across the map or going wherever you need to go, it's generally going to be across the map because it's going to be the next survivor is going to be somebody who's on a gen working across the map while you were fucking with the other survivor. Hooking a survivor, getting a 1% increase in haste, their haste bonus, going all the way across the map to go for the next obsession. And the obsession's going to know, like, as soon as you hook somebody and the obsession changes to them, they are going to know that they're the obsession and, hey, they're the next victim. So countering this isn't going to be too terribly bad. They say, okay, I have Killer Instinct on me for 4 seconds. After the 4 seconds, they dip. And they get as far away from you as possible, and they run the absolute dog shit out of you, while the other people in the match do generators. So if you even try to lean into this and try something like this, it's not going to work that well. You down that next person, you pick them up, you hook them, the next person becomes an accession. They wait the couple of seconds for the Killer Instinct to go off, and then they go to a pretty strong loop, and they run the dog shit out of you. So just thinking about it, you're going to lose. Well, depending on how far they get from you, you're going to lose about a minute per each chase off of that. You have to get, what, 3, 6, 9, 12 hooks in order for that to work. So you're looking at, 10 to 12 minutes to actually chain from obsession to obsession when they only need what? If 3 of them complete 3 gens at the... Let's do terrible circumstances. And they take 80 seconds on each generator times 5. 400 seconds. That's 6 minutes and 40 seconds. So let's say 7 minutes. Even if they are the worst survivors out there, 7 minutes is all they're going to need to do generators. Which means you have to get there and get a hook state on each survivor, or 2 survivors per 1 gen completed. Kind of nuts, right? So your chase times can't last. That's from you hooking somebody, well, finding somebody, hooking somebody. So for the first person, you have 40 seconds to get to that first person and hook them. And whatever's left of that 40 seconds stacks onto your next chase to get to that next obsession and hook them. And then move on to the next. You got 40 seconds in between that. The haste is going to help, but you better be a damn good fucking pursuer and a mouse one killer. So you really got to get that ass moving and really lean into that to make this perk work. A new killer, the Demon Lord. Height average 4.6, 32 meters tear radius. Hopefully you cited your sources, or Mandy Talks is going to clap that ass. Nope, you have multiple things. And not a goddamn one looks like it was cited properly. So, this post is probably going to be taken down. So, I'm going to just slow scroll this for when it inevitably gets taken down for having way too many things. There you go. No, I'm not going over it. It doesn't even look interesting or catch my eye when I was skimming it as I was scrolling through. Lovercraft? Is it Lovecraftian killer? Is that what you were trying to put? Not Lovercraft killer? Yeah, chosen of the great old one. Lovecraftian killer. Oh boy. I made a mistake. The prediction ability actually has a cooldown. You need to hurt the shown player for it to charge. I guess that's what it's supposed to look like. Yeah, this perk would insanely become or instantly become meta. Interesting. Maybe it is worth a look over. Hopefully you drew this yourself. If not, you need to cite your sources. Also, if you're gonna make a mistake and try and correct it, all you gotta do is just add it to the main thing. The mods are generally pretty quick on approving and putting things down that usually don't take any more than 2 days. Just add an edit to it and update it. Once it's already been approved, the only thing that they need to approve is what you edited and added to it, so that you generally get to that faster. Don't put it down here at the bottom. It's just something like that, and please don't have a mistake in your edit. Or you can do like what Critty does. He just makes a change log in his comment, and he just adds on to it as things go. There's no need to go over the top like that. Something this small, definitely just change it and resubmit it. I'm creating a killer for a mod in DBD, and I still don't know if it is well balanced. Well, if you're saying it's for a mod in DBD, you might want to explain what the hell the mod is before you talk about said mod. I don't know if it's going to be just a modded map. It's going to be, you're talking about just a modded killer. I don't know if it's going to be like a modded game mode, like prop hunt or something like that. I have no idea the context of this, so how can I tell you whether it's balanced too strong or too weak if I don't know what this mod for DBD that you're creating consists of? You know what I'm saying? Plus, you only got 4 posts. I knocked my GPU loose. Goddamn. I'm sorry, GPU. I'm sorry. There we go. It's back in. We're good. But as I was saying, If I don't know what this mod is, I can't really give you an accurate review on, what would go well for what and what would go, with what. So the only thing I can do is tell you if your killer and your perks and all of that or whatever is good for base game Dead by Daylight. So if you do happen to see this, that is just what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through, do what I do, and hopefully it helps you. Rating the killer for a mod. Don't know if it's balanced too strong or too weak. Also, before I go any farther, look at the other posts. The more popular ones that have comments and things like that, like actual informative comments that other creators and things like that have commented on. You should definitely be looking at other people's projects to figure out, a sense of balance or something like that, that you just don't have a sense of or that you're lacking. Ask other creators for their advice, send them a message, something like that. Get involved with the community. And things will go, for the most part, well. Now, this particular forum, they need to definitely let you know when you receive messages. Because I ain't checked my messages well over a month, so if anybody did message me, it doesn't pop up in the corner saying, hey, you got a message, check it. You actually have to go into your profile and check your messages manually. There is no notification for that. That is something that they definitely could change on this particular forum. Is letting me know when I'm getting messages and alerts and all of that. And when people are asking me to review their stuff and all of that, it'd be very nice to see. Either way, at the moment, I only have its special ability and his 3 special perks. Maybe they think the word ability is hability. Because I mean, the mistyped that twice. Maybe it's an inside joke. Who knows? The Cultist. Prediction with right click. When you press the power button, you can activate prediction ability, which makes a random survivor and you see each other's auras for 3 seconds. That is object of obsession. I guarantee your cooldown is going to be right about where object of obsession's cooldown is going to be, because it's the only thing that really makes sense. Around about 30 seconds is what the cooldown on that power is going to be. So that's literally the survivor's perk, object of obsession, but for killers. If you have a 30-second cooldown on something like that, if you can't find a survivor on a map in 30 seconds, or at least catch whiff, sound, sight, or something of that survivor, you're either playing against god tier ninjas or you're not running a very good perk set. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having like an object of obsession thing, but I ask that you make it more unique and activatable, or incorporate this in some sort of better form, as opposed to I click button, I see where a survivor is. Especially because when it comes to the end, if you do manage to get 3 hooks, the final survivor can't really do much because you're gonna know where they are. You're just gonna click a button, say, oh, there they are, and then you're gonna head over to them. And if they don't find the hatch before you get there, it's basically donezo. So anytime you find a hatch, it's basically the end of the round for that survivor. So think about the beginning game with this, the middle game with this, the end game with this, and try to make a unique power that doesn't essentially, I don't want to say give you free wins, because I know people that could have aura reading the entirety of the fucking match and would still lose the goddamn match. Think about refining this power, giving it a lot more detail. Like with perks, this seems to be detailed enough, at least on this one, maybe this one. But the power, it's not very detailed. You literally said you click, you find. Again, if this is a mod for a prop hunt or something crazy like that, it would make sense to have something a little bit, towards that. But if it's regular Deadlight or Dead by Daylight play, then, it's not very savvy. If anything, just make Object of Possession a survivor and killer perk and make it unique to where either one could run it. Scourge chosen of the great old one. At the start of the trial, 4 random hooks are changed into Scourge hooks. Blah 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 blah. When 2 survivors are hooked in a Scourge hook, not at the same time necessarily, the rest of the survivors will scream, viewing horrible visions. Their aura will be revealed by 8 seconds. They will be paralyzed for 5 seconds and exposed for 2. Why? You're just throwing a whole bunch of numbers out that aren't irrelevant to this. So let's say you hook 2 survivors. You hook a survivor on the Scourge hook. They go to pick that survivor up. You down the survivor that picked them up. Or you trade it. One gets pulled off. You knock the other one down. You throw them up on the hook. By the time you pick that survivor up and throw them on a hook, even though the other survivor's nearby, the exposed for 2 seconds is completely pointless. You're not going to be able to get to that survivor unless they just stood there and just took that shit. And if they're standing there to take that shit, it's going to be a borrowed time and you're still not going to get the exposed hit. So the 2 seconds that you get exposed for is completely irrelevant to this case and needs to be deleted. You're not doing anything with 2 seconds of exposure. The paralyze for 5 seconds. The only thing you have that's close to that is the incapacitated status effect. Incapacitate the fucking survivor's speed at like 10% and make it last for a couple of seconds. 5 is way too long. You already have that speed advantage being the killer. You don't need very much or a lot more over it. Take about 10%, that would drop them down to 3.6, and you're at 4.6, so you will gain a meter per second on them. Make that last for a couple of seconds and then go away. And then the aura being revealed for 8 seconds. Why? That is completely useless. You don't need 8 seconds of aura reading. Again, keep it scaled to like barbecue and chili. There's already a Scourge hook perk that shows you the aura of all the survivors on the map when they were unhooked from that Scourge hook. Run that perk with this perk and get rid of the ability to see the aura of other survivors. You literally just took that perk and then buffed it with some bullshit that didn't need to be there. I don't know why that guy's saying that that shit would be the fucking... What do you say? This would be the new meta perk. I don't understand why he would say this would be the meta perk. It is so badly designed, and half of the status effects are useless. Run the Scourge hook perk that Sadako introduced, that when you pull somebody from the Scourge hook, all the other auras of the survivors are seen. Run that with this and delete that out of your thing. If you get rid of the copy out of that and get rid of the 2 survivors that are hooked on the same Scourge hook, like delete all of that shit. And get when a survivor is hooked on a Scourge hook, the rest of the players will scream. That's about all you got. If you tear that apart and take out, the shit that don't matter. The exposed for 2 seconds doesn't matter. Paralyze for 5 seconds. You can't just paralyze a survivor. You can incapacitate them to keep them from doing gens and things like that. Or you can not incapacitate, you can hinder them for 10% for some seconds, or incapacitate them, or do both and keep them from doing gens and slow them down for a couple of seconds and then call it a day. But this is literally just Sonico's perk buffed. You put no thought into this. You took a perk that you liked and said, damn, I wish this was better, and then added bullshit to it that didn't need to be there. Paralyzing for 5 seconds is essential uselessness. Because the only thing paralyzing for 5 seconds is going to do is if you catch a survivor unhooking that survivor, you're going to prevent that survivor from basically getting away if they don't have borrowed time. And you're just going to redown that survivor and hook them again. Exposing them for 2 seconds is absolutely positively useless, and I'm surprised you didn't pick that up on your own to get rid of that. But again, you only have 4 posts, and you probably didn't look at anything that's already implemented into the game to get a time, to get any type of time set, and you probably didn't look at anybody else's post in the forum to get an idea of how to set that. So no, this perk is not as good as everybody's saying, and needs to just be thrown out. Not even rework. Throw it out, come up with a different perk that makes sense for your killer. Your killer has a prediction ability to see survivors' auras for 3 seconds, but they can see yours. Your perks should supplement your killer's power. Your killer can already click a button to see a survivor's aura for 3 seconds. Why do they need to see survivors' auras on the hook and all of that? Plus, there's another perk that does that. Now, what would be smart is anytime that you see a survivor's aura, something happens, like they get oblivious or they get blindness or something, as a perk to cover your power, and also give them a status effect while using your power. So if the survivor looks at you while you're aura reading them and they see your aura, they know where you are, the basis of your power. However, they then get the oblivious status effect for using that information. Something that leans into your power. Or if you want to go the exposed route, anybody that looks at your aura gets the exposed status effect. You can use that to easily, when survivors are running behind walls and running loops, to give them exposed for a couple of seconds to try and get it down if you use it, carefully enough. Well, it's going to be more than a couple of seconds, but you know what I mean, for X amount of time. To try and use your power to get downs and things like that. But I mean, that would be more of a add-on type thing as opposed to a perk type thing. I don't know where this helps your particular power in any shape or way. It's just more aura reading. Run Sadako's perk and get rid of the rest of this BS, and that fills your first perk slot. Think of perks that supplement your killer and fill up these 3 perk slots better. The one who shall not be named. Each time a survivor is unhooked or healed, he receives a madness token. When a survivor has 3 madness tokens, they will say the name, they will become your obsession, the aura will be revealed for 2 seconds. More aura revealing. You don't need aura revealing. You have a killer that reveals aura. So if you feel like you need more aura reading, then up the amount of seconds your fucking killer can read auras. Don't make it too OP, because some of your add-ons and all of that are going to probably increase the amount of seconds you can aura read. But if you need more aura reading, use it with your power instead of adding in more aura reading to perks. Each time a survivor is unhooked or healed, they get a madness token. Or you can make it to where anytime you hook a survivor, barbecue and chili, or if a survivor's unhooked from a Scourge hook, Sadako's perk, you can easily get that aura reading that you're looking for. Again, Sadako's perk covers two of these. Then, on top of that, you went off the deep end and said the survivor will be permanently exposed. If the survivor is hooked, he will automatically be sacrificed. Why add in some bullshit over the top, super powerful shit in a perk? You realize that when that survivor gets taken off the hook, they are going to be healed. Which means they're going to immediately get 2 tokens. All you have to do is walk up to that particular survivor and slap them again, and then wait for them to get healed again, and boom. As soon as they become your obsession and you see that the obsession switches to them and their aura gets revealed, they can be sacrificed. It doesn't say this is even a one-time thing, so this can be used over and over. So the first time you hook somebody, you're literally just going to walk away. Hook them, walk away, let the other person pull them down, let the other person heal them. That's 2 tokens. And you're telling me at 3 tokens, the next time they're either unhooked or healed, in this case, healed is what you're going to be wanting to go for. Boom. They're permanently exposed and can just be sacrificed. That is the dumbest, not well thought out, OP perk that I've seen in a long time. This is literally a no-brain concept. No wonder it's short and you only have 4 posts. Like I said, you obviously didn't look at anything else when you were making these perks, and you were okay with, because I assume you look back over this a second time, maybe not. But like, what, like, explain to me what the fuck you're trying to do with this perk. And to make matters worse, this is a perk, so it'll be able to be used on any and all killers in the game. So a Huntress's Hatchet hits you, and you heal up. You can just hit another Huntress's Hatchet, or even worse, Legion. Legion uses his Feral Frenzy. Bam, hits 1 person. Bam, hits 2 person. With the buffs that he has now, he can chain damn near the entire lobby. If they're within his tear radius, he should at least get 2. Those 2 people he chained off of are obviously going to heal. And if he only gets 2 and cancels his power, that's a heal on a token that you got off that person. The person that you're chasing, you hit again, you down. They're going to get unhooked and then healed. That's 2 tokens on that person, 1 token on the other person. The guy that has 1 token, all you have to do is hook him, and he's moreable once he gets taken off that hook and healed. The person that you hit before, all you have to do is put him in the deep wound status effect and leave him alone. Next time that he heals, or mends from that deep wound status effect, he's moreable, permanently exposed. And if you time everything appropriately to where both of them don't get that effect at the same time, one will say the name, get exposed, you kill them, you send them on their way. You get the second person to that effect, you kill them, you throw them away. This power only maintains power as long as only 1 person has said the name. So if both of them say the name at the same time, then that power no longer activates. But it's very easy playing Legion to just hit 1 person and then down the second person that you're going after. Hell, if you hit them and allow them to mend, hit the first person, go back to the second person, hit the second person, and go back to the first person after they've mended, and then down them and hook them. You can get 3 on them and get them out of the game. Find the other person, down them and hit them, send them on their way. And you can have a fairly large amount of generators with 2 people left. And if you play it wisely and let the survivor be, if you get that cocky, arrogant asshole who thinks they're running the hell out of you, hit him, walk away, let him heal, go back to him, hit him again, walk away, let him heal, and hit him again, and walk away and let him heal. You know that asshole that wants to heal as he's or looping you and all of that? You find a guy like that, you could literally spend about a minute on him and then send him on his way. Getting a sacrifice within the first minute, I mean, it's good, it's powerful. No gens will be popped. And you already got a sacrifice. So, yeah. This perk shouldn't have even never been thought of. This is the perk that should not be named. Get rid of it. You didn't think about it. You didn't balance it properly. You didn't do anything. Driving into madness. Each time a survivor is unhooked. God damn. I about knocked my graphics card out again. Each time a survivor is unhooked, the survivor screams, get paralyzed for 1 second, and is aura revealed for 3 seconds. Or, hear me out here, make your choice, and the person that unhooks them gets exposed, and then you ain't got to worry about the paralyzations and all of that shit. There's other perks that feed into that same build as well. There's other ways to make survivors exposed and get them. It's not very savvy to paralyze the survivor that just got unhooked because, one, it's not going to mean anything in this perk wise unless you're literally there. Like, literally there as you're trading and knocking the other person down. You're not going to get much value out of this. It is literally a scream and a 1 second paralyzation. When I get pulled off a hook, I generally stand there for like 2 or 3 seconds waiting on that person to heal me. If they don't heal me, then I go on my day. So it's not anything that a survivor will do naturally. 1 second's worth of paralyzation, they're going to think that they're lagging for that 1 second, and then they're going to continue to run on doing whatever the hell they're doing. What's the point of the aura reveal when you know that they're at the fucking hook? That 1 second is going to come out of that aura reveal. So you're only going to get 2 seconds worth of aura reveal. What's the fucking point? I'm going to get 3 seconds worth of aura reveal of that survivor standing in place. Yup, he got unhooked alright. You ain't thinking. You didn't think about any of these. This is why I hate people with low posts that ain't checked the community or the games or the perk or anything like that. Other creations come in and try to list some bullshit ass creative concept. This is why I'm not too terribly harsh on people that look like they put a lot of effort into their concept, unless it looks like it's copied and pasted or some shit. Then I don't show them anything at all. But this is why I'm a lot more lenient on people that actually, take the time to write something out, and I just say, you need additional detail here, things like that, and I give them the advice to, improve their concept. Then you get dickheads like this that think they can just sign into the creation forum and post something and ask for advice. There's not even enough here to ask for advice, for one. You didn't say what this fucking mod was. Your perks and all this are dog shit and aren't even thought out. Again, if I don't know what the fucking mod you're talking about, I can't say anything. If this is regular Dead by Daylight, all of these perks are absolute dog shit. If it's for prop hunt or something like that that incorporates the hooking feature and it's changed up from regular Dead by Daylight, maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe I could give a different opinion. But not knowing what the fuck's going on, this is bad. All of this is 110% bad and needs to be redone. Throw it in the trash and redo it. Actually, throw it in the trash. Go look at other creations. Go look at perks. Go look at killers. Go look at other creations. And then redo it. You ain't ready for the creations. Then, I had a mistake. The prediction ability has a cooldown. You need to hurt the shown player for it to recharge. So not only did you not just make it a regular cooldown of like 30 seconds or something like that, you made it to where you have to injure that particular shown player. What if that player is on the opposite side of the fucking map when you click the button because you left it random? That means you are not going to have the use of your power for the remainder of the match until you find that particular survivor. And if that survivor's a dick and decides to hide in lockers and everything like that when you come by and let his buddies take you on a wild goose chase, or if they're all the same character, because you do get multiples of the same character, you're fucked. You'll never have the ability to use your power again. So you actually hard nerfed your power there. When you're creating your powers and things like that, you should be scaling it off of, if I was playing this killer, what would I be looking for? If I'm a survivor and trying to counter this killer, what can I do to counter this killer? If I go up against a gank squad or survive with friends, what can they do to potentially exploit or bully my killer with? And you should think about these and other aspects and things like that. Again, you want to fit one of three bills. You want either gen pressure, map pressure, or chase pressure. Guess what? This killer has absolutely none of those. Not good map pressure because all you can do is just look where a survivor is temporarily and then that power's gone till you damage them. All of your other perks don't activate until somebody's being unhooked, hooked, or healed. Gen pressure, non-existent. Map pressure, you have one click of ability and then your map pressure is gone. And I wouldn't even call it map pressure. It's more like survivor pressure. Chase pressure, you have no type of pressure that helps you actually down survivors in chases or anything like that. Your killer is incomplete. You don't have any of the three, your killer's going to be garbage despite having an OP ability. Chosen one. And he said that this one right here would immediately be meta. 61 posts makes sense. Fucking dumbass. This perk would instantly become meta, especially if two were hooked at the same time or even three. When this procs, the rescuer is completely screwed. Well, let's see. One, two people would have to be hooked on two of the four Scourge hooks in the map. So you're looking at the Scourge hooks happen to spawn by each other, or at least within grasp of each other, or the survivor would have had to have run near that one and you would have to chase them and down them near it. So one, even if you do get the dual hook scenario after chasing a survivor, getting them over there, all that, or if you get a spawn where both the Scourge hooks are just right next to each other. Okay. Now, as we remember, this only activates when two survivors are hooked on a Scourge hook. The rest of the players scream, viewing horrible visions, and their auras are revealed by 8 seconds, paralyzed for 5, and exposed for 2 seconds. One survivor will be hooked. The other survivors will probably take action as the other survivors getting hooked on the second Scourge hook. The person going for the other Scourge hook will scream and be held in place for 5 seconds. After that, the killer will probably be on their way back to the other Scourge hook. However, if you're going up against that particular killer, you already know what their ability is. So if two people are about to get hooked, the survivors are just going to chill, scream, get the paralyzation effect, which is going to be just the hindered status effect. And then they're going to go on with their lives. Because again, the aura being revealed for 8 seconds, yeah, it's bad, but the killer still has to deal with 2 other survivors. Whichever one they decide to go after, the other one's going to save the other 2 people on the hook. So that killer can camp a long ass distance in between 2 hooks. Again, this killer has no type of the pressures we mentioned. No gen pressure, no map pressure, no chase pressure. So it is a mouse 1 killer running back and forth between 2 hooks. There's no ranged attack, there's no teleportation, there's none of the extra bullshit that you have to deal with. So for this particular killer, this shit is definitely not going to be meta. Now this on a Huntress or something like that, nah, it'd probably be more like a hag. This on a hag, where you can set up traps and all of that, and hook a survivor on one, hook a survivor on the other one. A trap goes off, you teleport to the trap because they're rooted in place for 5 seconds. Again, you're not going to get the exposed hit. It's literally 2 seconds. It's not going to happen. You would have to be insanely quick on the draw. But you might be able to get an extra hit because they're paralyzed for 5 seconds after stepping on a track and all of that if they're in that area. Or it might slow them enough to where, you know, you can hook that other survivor. But you're definitely not going to get the down. But I mean, hag, this would be alright for. But there aren't a lot that this would be great for. So I don't see where this is going to become a meta perk. And again, remember, it's after 2 people are hooked on Scourge hooks. So it activates every 2 hooks. So the first person getting hooked, it doesn't matter. The second person getting hooked is when it's going to matter. And then it resets, and you have to get 2 more. Let's see. This perk would become especially if 2 were hooked at the same time, or even 3 when this procs. The rescuer is completely screwed. How is the rescuer completely screwed? During that time where she's chasing that other person and trying to hook them on a Scourge hook, that other original person is either going to already have the rescue, or they're going to say, damn, I can't make it, and they're going to go somewhere where they're safe till that effect wears off. Afterwards, when they hear the scream, the killer's going to have to make a decision. Go for the survivor that's going for a rescue, or go for the one that's probably doing a gen at that moment. If you go for the rescuer, the guy on the gen's just going to go pull the other people off the hook. If you go for the guy on the gen, then the rescuer's going to pull the people off the hook. So what do you go for? Do you pressure hooks or do you pressure gens? If you go for the rescuer, that gen pops probably, and they probably get a rescue. If you go for the rescuer, yeah, you might get another additional hook, but guess what? That's one out of the couple that you need to activate this proc again. So I guarantee one of them is going to get rescued by that time any of that happens. The exposed will only come into play rarely since there is only 2 seconds for the killer to find them. This will happen though as some survivors will get close to the hooks to prepare for an unhook and hide. Blah 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 blah. Everything that's mentioned here is niche and has to come at a specific circumstance. Keep in mind, it's once every 2, so if 3 people get put on Scourge hooks, that effect will not activate. It's 1 every 2. So it's going to activate when the second person gets hooked, but not when the third person gets hooked. And if it does, then it needs to be listed as such. Because you can't have both. Because it says here, not at the same time necessarily, which is every 2 hooks. If it's 2 hooks, 2 people on the hook at a time gets that, and then the third one activates, then it needs to be stated like that. But keep in mind, it's going to be extremely niche to have 2 different people on Scourge hooks at the same time to get this, decreasing the power. You can't have both. You can't have it when there's 2 or more people on a hook, and then after every hook, you know, every second hook. Like, you can't have both. It's one or the other. So either way, it's extremely niche and it's not very good. Blah blah blah. Again, it allow it for a free hit in tons of situations. If you're looking for a free hit, that's not very savvy. If that's your argument is, oh, it allows you for a free hit in a lot of situations, and a guaranteed chase when they might be the last hope for the team. Yeah, but your killer's still just a mouse 1 killer. You got to keep that in mind. The only thing he can do is rely on his chase skills. So, I mean, if you're like Oatsdar or something like that, and you have, you know, that try-hard mentality and can fucking destroy survivors with a mouse 1 killer, easy. If you're a regular casual, it's going to be a lot more difficult for you to actually get that down. The one that should not be named. I like that it would require a team to rotate tanking the killer to prevent too many heals. Still feels too oppressively powered to not be a hex. I guess it's a little better since they aren't moriable. But they technically still are moriable. Instead of it being an animation, it's just on the hook. The hook literally mories them. It still can be classified as a mini mori. There's just the killer's not killing them. The entity's taking them. He says he likes that it require a team to rotate tanking the killer to prevent too many heals. Why would you ever rotate your team to tank the killer? Why? You're just giving up health states, and then you're going to have a heal, which leads you to being moried. Why would you rotate your team out and give that killer the power and all of those tokens and all of that? That's dumb. You're not thinking. In this type of situation, you would want 1 person to run this killer. When that person goes down, you would take them off the hook and heal them. At this time, they would have 2 tokens. They would then get the killer's attention and run that killer. When they get knocked down and hooked, they're on their second hook now. You would take them down and heal them again, and then they would run that killer. So by the time all 3 hooks came through, you would, gone. They would be gone, and they would have used all 3 of their hook states. But if you let this survivor go down, take them off the hook, and then heal them, and then swap out another person and let them go down, and let them get off the hook and heal, and then let the next person go down get off the hook and heal, and you keep changing your team out, everybody's going to have 2 tokens saved up. So then all this killer has to do is literally just damage you into the health state, and you're basically in a plague game without any ranged attacks. Or they would do the smart thing and just pick a legion and just chain off of people and force you to heal. Again, it's going to be very good for a legion who will force you to heal, or you're going down. You have no choice. You're going to mend that wound or you're going to go down. If you go down and somebody picks you up, that's a heal. And you're going to need another heal to go up. So you're going to mend yourself as legion. Once they chain everybody and everybody has to heal, then they just hook you one time. After you're hooked that one time and you come off of that hook, if you elect to heal yourself, then you're basically moreable on hook. So after getting everybody one time, they realize that, hey, if I take this person off the hook, then, for your first hook, you have 2 tokens. And then the second time you're taken off the hook, you can be moried on the hook. Or you're going to die on hook anyway, so I guess it don't fucking matter, So, I mean, it don't make any sense for them to ever down a survivor. I would walk in even as this particular killer, and I would just slash you, and then I would go to the next survivor and hope that you can heal yourself. As soon as you heal yourself, then all I have to do is just down you and throw you on a hook. You're basically stuck in a no-mither situation, to where if you heal yourself after being unhooked that first time, I'm going to send you on your way with a hook mori, or you can run around as like a no-mithered person without the benefits and everything, injured, and keep using your hook states. So, I mean, again, Legion would benefit from that a lot, but your actual killer, it's not good for. And again, tanking's not the way to do that. You would want one survivor to run the killer, not all 4 survivors. If all 4 survivors are trading off, then who the fuck's gonna do the gens? Who's gonna body block and all of that as you're going out? Who's gonna have the healthy states to do the things that require the healthy states, And if you're tanking, who's gonna make the save on the hook? What, your next tank, you're gonna pull that person off the hook, and then you hopefully that your tank takes damage and enter into a pursuit? Because if not, they're just gonna tunnel the person you just pulled off the hook and rehook them. That's a free hook state that way too. You know what I'm saying? So, like, what do? If you run borrowed time, the person who just got unhooked runs away, the killer chases him, sees borrowed time. You wait for the timer to go, or you can chase the new tank. But again, why damage the new tank when you can just hit them once and then go after the guy with borrowed time? By the time you catch up with him, his borrowed time will be just about running out. You count like the 5, maybe 3, 5, maybe 6 seconds. Bop them on the head, you rehook them. The person that's injured's no longer a tank because they took damage. They heal up and they get downed and hooked, then they're screwed. You know what I'm saying? Driving in the Madness, this is essentially a nerf to borrowed time, which exists to prevent the exact tunneling that this perk seemingly promotes. Driving into Madness is the bullshit perk, by the way, where the paralyzation happens for the 1 second in the aura reveal. It's not a direct counter to borrowed time because you have well over 10 seconds in borrowed time, and this literally stops you for a second. So this person, I guess, doesn't play the game that often. Rooting them in place for a second means absolutely fuck all nothing. Revealing their aura for 3 seconds means absolutely fuck all nothing. I want to include that I play killer 50/50 and have almost 1,000 hours in the game. Or you're a fucking idiot. Because your strategies, even after 1,000 hours in the game, ain't anything. But I mean, it's only 1,000 hours, so you're still kind of a pup at the game. I've played this game on and off since the time it's deleted, since Chuckles was the fucking trapper's name in the beta and all of that shit. Where we were cracking game files and figuring that shit out. Where there were only a couple of killers that you can pick, the main line. You know? Back when the Doctor came out in Fing Men, I immediately jumped on the fucking Doctor and started playing him as my main from then on, for the most part. I mean, I played other killers when they came out, but I've always truly mained Doctor over the years. And then they changed them, and I was sad. But you only have 1,000 hours in the game. 1,000 hours ain't very good in the game, and I guarantee you, most of that 1,000 hours isn't actually playtime, because this shit takes a while to find matches. You probably looked at your fucking Steam, and it says 1,000 hours, but if you take out the bullshit time that you spend waiting on lobbies and all of that, or when you're actually, cooking or something, searching for matches because it's just around that time of the night, or you're fucking around with friends in a private match, or when you were just learning the ropes of the game and you didn't know what the fuck you were doing, the tutorial time, etc., etc., that 1,000 hours will decrease at least 100 hours. So I'm like, yeah. I'm not trying to be survivor sided. I do really like the Lovecraftian horror, and a killer would be great to see. Yes, but your advice on saying that this perk would instantly become meta. You've never been to iridescent in your fucking 1,000 hours. I can tell you that fucking much. It's just dumb. You didn't think about what you said. You didn't weigh the options. You're not thinking about playing this killer or any of that. You're not looking at the statistics. You're just going off a whim. You're not thinking about how these changes would actually be helpful, useful, or bad. I mean, you're not a reviewer and it's not your job, so I don't expect it, but don't say dumb things like this perk would instantly become meta. It's like, yeah, maybe on a specific killer that it really suits them for, but one, for his killer, absolutely positively not. And you shouldn't be designing perks for other killers in the game when you're trying to create your own original concept. You know what I'm saying? So, like, balance your perks and all of that for your particular killer and not for other killers and shit in the game. 1,000 hours don't mean shit for Dead by Daylight, by the way. It's like saying you have 1,000 hours in Rocket League. People are gonna go, and you're still bad. And they're gonna continue to walk on. Thanks for all the feedback. I must admit, I don't have much experience with the game. Trust me, I know, with your 4 posts. It's a very good idea to change the one who shall not be named into a hex power. I didn't think about that. All of this other stuff will be nerfed. I will do a thing, and I think no perks as yet. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So, there's the document link. I'm not going to click on it. But if anybody's interested in keeping up with this particular mod that he's going to try and add into the game, the only thing I can tell you is make sure that your shit is either in offline mode. Easy anti-cheat is shit and probably won't pick it up, but if you try to log into the main servers, you might get automatically banned. So keep your Steam in offline mode. and only test that shit in LAN lobbies. If you want to play with friends and all of that, there are ways to get around the online offline thing, but just keep in mind that if you accidentally go online or easy anti-cheat knocks you from using a mod or some shit, and you get absolutely shit on and lose your account that you paid for, I warned you. The special ability doesn't seem that good, especially because the random survivor can see him. It just seems like object of obsession, but for the killer. Maybe if the random survivor couldn't see the killer's aura and the random survivor becomes exposed. Same thing I said. Or maybe an added special attack that allows the killer to summon tentacles from somewhere and attack. Axe ability. You might want to fix that. So this is essentially kind of what I said. I did not read this beforehand, but damn. Is a shortened version of exactly what I said. Wow. Like-minded people think alike, I suppose. So if you didn't listen to a fucking thing that I said, this is basically what I said, minus the tentacles. I just said it needed an attack. Or any type of pressure. This would at least allow it to get chase pressure to end chases faster. Or set traps that attack. Or something like that. Very interesting. Makes me wonder, though. Is that me on an alternate account? Weird. I feel like I spent a lot of time on that. Yeah, it's about an hour and a half in. Not another fucking xenomorph fucking killer. Jesus Christ. I'm not doing it. I was going to, but no, I'm not doing it. That's gonna be the end of the reviews today. Definitely on that last Lovecraftian killer. On that last review I did, you're going to need a lot more information. You're going to need a lot more fine tuning and things like that. If you go by just this information right here that you've wrote out and you try to make a mod out of it, it's going to be a sad ending for you, friend. You probably have a lot more thoughts in your head than you presented to us on the creation forum. So I'm gonna assume you have other ideas and things to throw in, etc., etc. I assume the tear radius and all of that's gonna be the same standard, 4.6 meters per second, 32 meters tear radius, and all of that. But hopefully, when you actually see this project in fruition and actually get testers and things like that, you fine tune and change this and then come back to this form and update the things that you see that are fucked up and needs to be changed. I'm not going to click on that Google document if that's where your updates are. I mean, that's kind of on you. I don't click on random links, especially not to Google documents and things. That is the easiest way to get a backdoor installed on your computer and get viruses, trojans, and everything else. Could easily put it through a IP sniffer too and grab your IP address as well. So yeah, I don't click on those. But if anybody wants to take the updates and all of that and copy and paste them into something and just give this guy credit, that would work as well. Just let him know and get his permission to post for him if it comes down to it. But I would be interested to see how this mod turns out, and if the mod turns out well, we could get him on board to try and create some of these mods that people are trying, or ideas and creations of people who want, to see their creations and all of that come into light. If it don't turn out well, or if a mod never happens or anything like that, and this never gets updated again, then it is what it is. The pain in the ass to program shit. Well, it's a pain in the ass just to model the shit. Because you gotta model the shit, you gotta program the shit, you gotta do a whole bunch of other things. Now, starting out, I would recommend he just change like the trapper or something like that. Just change the stats and mess with a bunch of the powers and all of that. Like, for example, when the trapper puts down a trap, you can have it activate an ability on the side and just keep it simple as fuck to do just a small test to see if it's worthwhile. But if you do go all the way and you spend countless hours on things, you will get a very, very, very big life lesson that everybody usually experiences once. That life lesson, for those of you that haven't experienced it once, is don't waste a lot of time and a lot of effort on something that's free. It might be your baby, your project, your creation, all of that. But if you spend a year of your time programming, building things in, hell, even if it's like 6 months, building things, programming things, making everything look, nice, neat, going in, and let's say you even make a banger of an idea that everybody likes, but ends up being free. You're going to regret working on that project, even though it's widely popular and everybody wants it. Because one, you working on that one particular project has limited you from working on other projects and actually improving, your skill set and actually getting monetary value and monetary gains, which will allow you to buy better equipment and keep making things in the future. Two, if you do come out with this banger that, let's say, took you years and years and years and the public likes it and it's free, they're going to expect that same quality from you out of every single thing that you I can never say that word, subsequently make. And that's terrifying. You spend a lot of time on something, they're going to expect everything that comes out of you to be that high of quality. And if you put out a banger and the next thing you put out, let's say you monetize a product or something like that, and it's not nearly as good or what it was everybody else was expecting, your reputation's fucking gone from that point on. People will not trust you for any future projects or anything like that. So small projects like mods and things like that for games, they're good for experience, but do not spend a large amount of time on those projects. Like when I made my map for Roblox and all of that I showed off one stream, I spent about a month on it. After that, I locked it down and I said I was fucking done with it. I'm not gonna go back in and continue adding on to this map, spend about a year on it, have this great ass, good ass map that's basically free for the public to play. And I'm like, yeah, I gained map creating and all of that, but all the experience you gain from that shit, you generally gain at the beginning, and then you just stack on and on and on, adding in details and shit. Adding details to things is not something that you should build up on a free game or on a hobby project or something like that. Save that for the big projects that are actually going to get you something in return. Whether it's clout you're looking for, clout, reputation, whether it's money, whether you're looking to get somebody's attention or get sponsored by somebody, etc., etc., or whether you're just doing it to have fun. Keep in mind that you'll have more fun working on a myriad of projects as opposed to being tied down to one, because you will spend sleepless and wakeless nights trying to get the project perfect because you'll never feel that it's perfect. Even when you release it, you'll be like, there's so much more I could have done. The public's going to say, hey, I like this. It's cool. And then they're going to drop it like they drop everything else in about a week or two. And you're going to be like, I spent my whole year on this to get recognition for like 2 weeks. Maybe not even 2 weeks if it's not a banger. And then it's gone. Nobody ever talks about it, touches it, or plays it again. It happens. Either way, everybody eventually runs into something where they spent a lot of time and effort on something that isn't worthwhile. Everybody needs to be taught this lesson before they can mature and move on, so let it happen. When it happens, then you can mature up and learn not to do it in the future. But as of now, I am QTASTIC, and as always, supplement your lifestyle, and I see you next time.